And we are live. Welcome to NBA. Well, deeper dive for right now. Devin Booker available to play. The news is coming in as we get started. Jalen Green still out. Surprise, surprise. Welcome to the deeper dive. I am going to be live for the next 30 minutes, at which point Greg and Eric will be here for Live Before Lock, and they will take you all the way up until 7 o'clock. So hit the like button as you get in the door. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engelman. We started to get some news already. And as I just mentioned, the Devin Booker news came in. Devin Booker is playing today. Jalen Green is out. That is not the only news we've gotten over the past 15 minutes or so. Paul George out today for the Philadelphia 76ers. However, we do not yet know the status of Joel Embiid. I started today with the complete assumption that Joel Embiid would not be playing. Joel Embiid is in fact questionable. This is the first game of the slate. So realistically, you should get this news sometime in the next hour. Certainly no later than the middle of Live Before Lock would be your expectation, but it's Joel Embiid. Can't trust anything. Nothing to worry about on the Indiana side for news. Paul George out. Joel Embiid questionable. Otherwise, we're not really worried about anything for Philly. Now, the trickle-down effect of this news is pretty big. You'll get either Adem Bona or Andre Drummond, likely Bona, getting the start. Those two guys will make up probably the 48 center minutes, but don't necessarily have to, especially in a matchup against the Indiana Pacers. It all becomes very weird and push-pull, depending on if we get that Embiid news or not, because Philadelphia 76ers do, in fact, play tomorrow. That's going to matter. So keep that in mind. We have a 7:30 start for today. Phoenix, Brooklyn. We just got the Phoenix news, as I mentioned. They only had two pieces of news. Booker in, Jalen Green out. On the Brooklyn Nets side, Cam Thomas out. Day'Ron Sharpe out. Igor Demon out. So the Nets have some bodies not hanging out with us today. Now, the Cam Thomas one was expected for most of the day. Did not see the Day'Ron Sharpe one coming. The Igor Demon one we did see coming. Zaire Williams available for this one as well. The only thing more frustrating to watch than Jalen Green on a team that's trying to win when he's healthy is Jalen Green on a team that is trying to win when his athleticism is sapped. Don't sell that stock. I don't want to sell my Jalen Green stock, man. I am a Jalen Green optimist. Maybe not a star. That man can get his own shot. We have an 8 o'clock game as well. So be aware. While we only got 4 games on the main slate, you are set up very nicely for multiple late swap opportunities to try and improve your lineup. If you are interested in late swap, the easiest way for you to do it is to be signed up at Stokastic.com. You guys can see bottom of the screen. See that bar going by that's yellow? It says you can get a free month of Sims by signing up through one of our partners. Do that. Click the link in the description. You're going to get to a landing page with a bunch of sports books and pick'em sites on it. Every single one of those, if you are eligible to sign up there and you haven't done it before, can get you a free month of The Sims and therefore get you access to the late swap tool, which I think is probably the biggest advantage to anything you can do in DFS if you've never used it before. Nothing will improve your play more than using the late swap tool if you've never used it. It's that simple. It's that simple. We get an actual good basketball game today, although we are missing just a hair of people, potentially. Josh Minot out for the Celtics. He's in the rotation, but whatever. Peyton Pritchard is available. On the Pistons side, Ron Holland is questionable. So, save for Jason Tatum, we're pretty much getting the real Boston-Detroit game today. And obviously, Tatum wasn't ever going to play one way or the other. We're getting some darn good basketball. Not waiting on any real news there other than Holland, and that it's not really going to open anything up. Then finally, we have one additional piece of news. That's going to be Draymond Green in the 10 o'clock game. He is questionable. We already know Davion Mitchell, Jaime Jaquez, both probable. Tyler Hero already out. DeAnthony Melton already out. Guy Santos already out. That is the slate that we have ahead of us for today. We have a projections and ownership update as of 30 seconds ago. So let's take a lap through everything and talk about where we stand game by game for the rest of the night. We got this one set up pretty well, guys. Hit that like button. Help us out before we turn this one over to the Live Before Lock crew. So that first game that we're talking about, the one that is tough to talk about right now, Philly and Indy. Now, we are seeing solid ownership here. This is live to change pretty dramatically depending on that Joel Embiid news. $9,900 Tyrese Maxey. It's about 37% owned, 37% optimal. We already know that Paul George is in here. It's possible that Tyrese Maxey ends up looking even better than this if Joel Embiid ends up out. You know you're getting massive minutes out of Maxey, barring like true weird stuff. He's out there no matter what. The interesting piece of all of this is $9,400 Joel Embiid is also 25% owned today on DraftKings in a really nice matchup against the Pacers. Pretty much everybody beats up on Indiana, and Joel Embiid is going to be right there for it. No issues whatsoever getting that combo of Maxey and Embiid, although it's gonna cost you a pretty penny for what this slate is. Then we start getting our way into some of the Indiana pieces. Andrew Nembhard's 25% owned, just like Embiid. Jay Huff is basically the same in that 20 to 25 range. Same for Kelly Oubre right now at 4,900. Then it falls off a bit more. You get your Aaron Nesmith, your VJ Edgecombe, your $8,700 Pascal Siakam. Then it really falls off a bit. I do feel pretty good about Friday. Quentin Grimes did see those minutes climb back up. Don't be surprised to see him play even more than the 28 we have projected if we do lose Embiid here. Just to point out the salary structure for the backup centers. Adem Bona is sitting at 3,600. Andre Drummond is sitting at 4,500. Now, the assumption would be that it's Bona getting the start, but it doesn't have to be. And again, you're going to get that news. Bona, a significantly worse per minute guy. So he needs every one of those minutes just to sort of equal Andre Drummond. But either way, we're going to find some additional value here if we lose Embiid. If we don't lose Embiid, play Joel Embiid. That should be the takeaway for this one. Because he's going to smash Jay Huff, Isaiah Jackson, whoever the hell else they want to approximate a center. As long as he's out there, he looks really good. All right. Suns Nets. Obviously, we got the Jalen Green news, so he's not going to be out there for this one. Do want to see that dude get back, but it doesn't appear that it's going to be today. Phoenix and Brooklyn battle the two terrible abbreviations. Look at how flat the ownership is. This is the hardest game to break down for today. Tyrese Martin at 3,100 is 20% owned. After that, the following group of guys are between 10 and 15. Nolan Traore, Michael Porter Jr., Grayson Allen, Noah Clowney, Nick Claxton, Royce O'Neal, Mark Williams, Oso Ighodaro. Michael Porter Jr. showing some pretty positive leverage, positive 7.7 at this moment, 8,900, small forward eligibility. Certainly more interesting if Joel Embiid ends up out. I know that wouldn't make a ton of sense, but that's just one less other pay up option that you're going to get to, especially and creates value at a different position. This is a true mess. Because it's not like there should be a ton of confidence in someone like Tyrese Martin or Nolan Traore. We're talking about 0.8 fantasy point per minute guys that are going to play somewhere around 20 minutes. Both of those look terrible. I have so much more confidence from like MPJ, Clowney, Claxton, Grayson Allen to a degree at this point. Like, is Oso Ighodaro really that much worse of a play than like Tyrese Martin? I don't know. Maybe. Center's weird too, obviously. Embiid news will matter for this one. I'd say that Devin Booker is probably going to look a little underrepresented here. 8,800, point guard, shooting guard eligible. We have him in for 34 and a half minutes. My guess is that the Q tag helps to suppress his ownership at least a little bit, even though we already know, he's going to be in for today. Solid enough matchup against this Brooklyn Nets team. If he's going to be sub 10% owned, I feel like Devin Booker is someone to I don't want to say take a flyer on because he's Devin Booker, but like an interesting pay up to be contrarian option. He's currently projected for 9.4% ownership. And I think the Q tag will help you in your endeavor of less people wanting to play him. Michael Ferris, I'm glad you like that. My goal in my mind was to say Sean Dyche, but I mean, realistically, both men do the same job. They get hired on to whoever gets sacked first to keep them up. Yeah, Dirt McGirt, no comment. No one's happy about the way these slates were broken up today. That's for sure. All right, 8 o'clock game. Let's talk through this current Celtics Pistons situation. Because this is going to be a spot where you could see a competitive, real basketball game and get 36 minutes out of a bundle of these dudes. The interesting part for all of this is that these dudes aren't owned at all. Cade Cunningham at $10,300 is 19% owned. The issue here is that I think Tyrese Maxey just naturally looks better in a matchup against the Pacers. I think Joel Embiid just naturally looks better in a matchup against the Pacers. And I know that they're not really on each other's island from a salary perspective, but I just kind of prefer the idea of getting to Devin Booker over Cade Cunningham. Now, we are getting about 10% ownership to two other centers in this game, Neemias Queta and Jalen Duren, but not a ton of love. Duren just scares me because the minutes are all over the place. Maybe today's a day where he plays a bit more in a competitive matchup against another team they're fighting with, but who knows? Queta continues to look good. The scope of what you do with Queta and Duren will be impacted by Joel Embiid. So that's kind of nuts. And then after that, you start paying a lot of money to be contrarian. Whether that's a $10,100 Jaylen Brown today at 5% ownership, or an $8,600 Derek White, or a $7,100 Peyton Pritchard. Yes, the three main dudes from the Boston Celtics today: Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, on a 4-game slate. They're 5% owned or lower. Now, the boom score does not exactly look good on Jaylen Brown. The total on this game is not great. Obviously, the Pistons' lean defense. Derek White's boom score is even worse than Brown's. Peyton Pritchard's is basically like Derek White. But I can't help but look at those three guys from Boston. Now, the problem is I don't know how to pick which one I want. I lean Jaylen Brown, honestly. But this is tough. On a 4-game slate, we're essentially not getting any ownership to Boston. There's a path here that I have to assume some people want to try to carve out with one of those three guys. In my mind, I like Jaylen Brown the most. I think there's a case to be made for like Peyton Pritchard having one of those days, but it seems to me there's not enough ownership in this Boston-Detroit game, and we should be looking for a little bit of something here. Because this is ultra competitive. Both teams are going to want to win this. I think both teams are more likely to like get an extra minute or two. Like nothing would surprise me here if Jaylen Brown and Cade Cunningham both go to 37 minutes today, you know? And if I'm going to get a piece, like if I have a piece of Boston, whether that's Jaylen Brown or White or Pritchard, I kind of want to make sure I have a Piston as well. Sneak game. Now, we do have to remember that optimistically, you want to have a ton of this late game of Miami and Golden State. 1, Miami plays at a breakneck pace, which we know. 2, we've got a Q tag on Draymond Green, which could dramatically impact everything. And 3, these guys are just already the best plays. Thanks to no Tyler Hero. Thanks to no DeAnthony Melton and Guy Santos and no Terry Rozier, but probably doesn't matter all that much. We have massive ownership coming into the late game. 45% ownership to Steph Curry, which feels like literally never happens. It's a guy that I just never get to in DFS. Norm Powell, 35% owned. Andrew Wiggins, 30. Hawkes, Butler, Moody, Bam, all 25 to 30. Draymond, if he plays, is 20. Davion Mitchell's 20. Podziemski, Peyton, Horford, all in the teens. This is a massive amount of ownership coming into the Island late game at 10 o'clock. I love every bit of having as much as I can of this game. 1, we have no idea when the rest of the news is going to come in. It's going to put you in an outstanding position to be able to late swap before the Suns Brooklyn game, before the Pistons Celtics game, and then ultimately before the Warriors and Heat game. So right away, you're already kind of getting it by default. And the Draymond stuff will impact what you end up getting. Al Horford might look a little bit different if we end up getting no Draymond. Same story for, God, they have just the whole team's guards. Trace Jackson Davis, flat 3K. Think about that when you're rostering Adem Bona or Andre Drummond potentially. How many minutes does Quentin Post play in that scenario? He's 3,800. Just get a bunch of this game and deal with it later. That's why I told you guys to sign up for these stochastic sims at the beginning of this show, because you want to be able to use our late swap tool to come in and save the day. This is where the edge is found, guys. If you're not late swapping to handle all of this news, you're leaving money on the table. And you can sign up at Stochastic and not spend any money to get in the door. So now you can make more money by late swapping and spend no money to do those late swaps. If you ask me, that's like the best thing in the world. You should do that by clicking that link. Interesting times here by setting up on this side. So let's take a bigger look at the way that payups look now. Because we talked a little bit about the Cade Cunningham, Jaylen Brown piece. They're the only two guys north of 10K, 5% ownership to Jaylen Brown, close to 20 for Cade. Just saying, I'm at least a little bit more interested in the Jaylen Brown side of that one. Maxi's sitting there in a dream matchup with a better price than those two guys and the potential to not see Joel Embiid. But the highest owned guy of anybody in this group at this moment is the $9,100 Steph Curry, because he's going to get a lot of extra possessions and the opportunity to let it sail. I think there's a case to be made that he looks worse without Draymond, but if they're just going to get more spacing out there, maybe it ends up looking better. Actually, no reason to not take a look and see what that looks like so far this season. Golden State, Steph Curry, Draymond Green. 342 minutes, no Draymond. Usage rate goes up a hair. True shooting goes up a hair. A couple more free throws. Team's worse. Not much volume. Not surprised. Not surprised. As I look at Steph, my first thought immediately when I see it is, I'd like to take a little bit of that ownership and give it to Devin Booker. or Jaylen Brown. Probably more Booker. Like, I get it. There's a giant gap in permanent rates between Steph and Booker. $300 cheaper with an MPE. I know it's a terrible game environment. 44-9 in ownership. 34-19 in boom score. Those guys are just a little bit too separated as far as I'm concerned. Jordan, I haven't looked at it for whether or not Embiid plays. It's an early game, so it's not something that I'm really paying all that much attention to. Like, I mean, I know that Philly and Joel Embiid in particular are not above some true fuckery, but I think we'll just get that information with plenty of time to spare. Nothing. If that were later, we could have a much bigger if it were the Draymond game, then we could have a discussion about whether or not we want to play that differently. For this one, we're just going to get that info eventually. All right, chat. Who's your favorite Payup? Just fire it away. Anybody north of 9K. So Cade, Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, Embiid, and Curry. Because based on this ownership, realistically, I should expect you guys to say Curry a lot, and I don't feel like that's going to happen. Embiid, Steph, Maxey, Cade, Maxey. Cade. Why you guys like Cade? What am I missing here? The most expensive guy already getting some ownership? All crazy. Couple Devin Booker answers who was not involved in the question. Kudos, guys, for following instructions properly. Now, the Maxey one to me makes the most sense. There's a decided lack of Jaylen Brown in there for me, if I'm honest. I get that that's not the best game environment. There were way too many Cades before Jaylen Browns. But the problem then becomes, do you want to lock in those spots so early? When it comes to pay-ups, I don't mind as much. It's the locking in the slop at the bottom that makes you feel sick by the time you get to 10 o'clock and you want to really swap. Steph is really pissed after how Charlotte guarded him last game. 50 real tonight. Shame we don't have the jackpot anymore. Although Steph Curry would be one of the most popular picks on every slate, which would be very annoying. Yeah, as I'm looking at it right now, if I'm going to rank those 5 dudes at the top in terms of the order of which I would like to have the most of, it's Tyrese Maxey 1. Assuming Joel Embiid is in, it's Joel Embiid 2. Curry 3, Jaylen Brown 4, Cade Cunningham 5. The gap in point per dollar value between Steph Curry and Jaylen Brown being 0.6 is that's bigger than I could turn down. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just permanently anti-Cade, which is possible. But whether Joel Embiid plays or not, Tyrese Maxey against the Indiana Pacers just stands out. You know what? One name that we're also probably missing on here, if Joel Embiid ends up out, $8,700 Pascal Siakam at 11% ownership is probably going to get slept on more than he needs to. It's not like there's a ton of quality on the rest of Philly. I get it. They're better and deeper now. They just have 4 versions of the same guy. They'll trot out that amalgamation of like Jabari Walker and Trendon Watford and the other 2 idiots that are the same guy with different names. I think it has to do with how many times Jaylen Brown put up a dud this year, especially at that price. That's the thing, though. I don't give a shit if he puts up a dud. Right now, he just feels like he helps me win more frequently than 5.8%. Whether he has 10, 20, 30, 40 fantasy, all those are the exact same number. Today, I feel like he's not owned enough for his chance of scoring 50 fantasy points today and being in the lineup you need. 4 games for him to be 5% and to be a 35-minute a game plus guy, that's just too low for me. Like, I get it on Derek White, 8,600. I can understand why he's not getting the love. I like Jaylen Brown more at a small forward position that's typically harder to fill, especially on this slate. The only downside is just that it's not that great of a game environment. But it's an 8 o'clock game. If you hate it at 7:55, when we get some of that Golden State news, you have your opportunities to get back out of it. And then, all of this might change dramatically if we get Joel Embiid and Draymond Green news somehow in the next 10 minutes. Everything that I'm saying will end up getting run through the wash. Malakar says, why is Isaiah Jackson coming up so much? In what? Like your Google search? That's from typing Isaiah Jackson in. Now, that's not to say that he's not interesting. He's back after a fairly extended layoff, 4,200. Saw him get 18 or 19 minutes in that first game back. They're not married to any single one of these centers, so would it be crazy for him to sneak into 21 or 22 today as value? No. There's just a bunch of Isaiah Jacksons today. All right. I got to give out a nuke. If I'm going to be here solo, I got to start dropping some bombs all over this place. So, nuke of the night. I'm going to do 2 of them. I'm feeling charitable on this holiday for everybody today. The first of which is going to be at the top, not to the 10-1 Jaylen Brown, to the $8,800 Devin Booker at 9% ownership. I'm intrigued. It's a low for a 4-game slate. It fits the same Jaylen Brown thing, but this saves me a little bit of extra salary as well. That's $1,300 coming back into my pocket. If we sort by leverage, there's no chance I'm taking Gary Payton. That would be insane. I don't really like many of these positive leverage options. So I'm going off the beaten path for nuke number 2. Has to be done. I know I bookmarked this in my brain before, and now I'm losing it. This is not typically for me. Chris Spags, if you're watching, this one is for you. $5,200 point guard, shooting guard eligible Quentin Grimes, who currently projected for 8% ownership. I think he improves if we lose Embiid, and I think he's just going to be out there one way or the other today, and it's not going to look like it had 3 games ago, 4 games ago, when the minutes were down a little bit. I think he's playing. We've got him in for 28 and change here. I think he's live for 32 in this scenario. Give me Quentin Grimes, a guy who's not going to get talked about at all, but still gets the benefit of a cupcake matchup against the Indiana Pacers. And so it ends, folks. That is the end of the deeper dive. There are 4 games tonight, the first of which is carrying a gigantic Q tag that Greg Ehrenberg and Eric Lindquist are going to bring you whenever that news comes. Typically, it comes the moment I say this when they get started. But that seems kind of uneventful on a 4-gamer, so they'll probably get it at like 650. What's up, boys?
Yeah, we'll see. Eric and I are going to be discussing, as per usual, some of the injury situations here. So, Josh, your watch has ended. Thank you very much for running the ship there and keeping everything locked down. Yeah, this is serious business, John.
I feel like you're going to stab me. I'm Jon Snow, and you're turning on me here. This is heartbreaking.
Get on out of here. Get on out of here. Do us a favor, guys. Like the video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is time for NBA Live Before Lock, where sometime over the course of the next hour, Eric and I presumably are going to find out whether Joel Embiid is playing or not. We also have Draymond Green questionable to play in the later game. So by later, I mean very late. We are probably not going to get that news until it is the only game left on the slate. So we're going to have to walk everybody through how to navigate that situation. Eric, how you doing today?
Doing good. Yeah, no, that's the situation I care about.
Draymond out. Look, well, fuck me. We just got it right now. That was unexpected.
And not only that, that game starts in legitimately 4 hours. Yeah. So that's insane. I was going to say that's the most interesting spot to me, but now it'll be the most interesting spot to everybody. They get the number one pace team in the NBA. Miami just continues to play at breakneck speeds. It's just incredible stuff to watch. So I am with you where, I can't believe we just got that news. They're somehow at 105 possessions per 48 over on the old dunks and threes. I'm just kind of going through the motions here with this. Who's the fifth starter?
Yeah. By the way, somebody in chat, not in the AM, bro. Greg always did this. Anybody else notice? That one was a weird one because the odds of us get that should have been impossible. For us to get that news over the course of the show should have been impossible. The game doesn't start for 4 hours, let alone for it to be the exact moment I said that we weren't going to get it. So sometimes I do feel like the universe just kind of trolling me, but to Eric's question, what is the fifth starter going to be? Here's what's hard about the Warriors. It could be anything.
Yep.
Steve Kerr does all kinds of weird lineups. Just like look at the ups and downs of Kuminga during his time with the Golden State Warriors. Let's see. So matchup against Miami. I do think that he's somebody who, unlike a lot of other coaches, this is something that I actually think is a good practice by coaches, but I understand that as, bettors and fantasy players, why it drives people crazy. Mm-hmm. He really does try to optimize who he plays based on the matchup. And then he kind of plays a hot hand depending on the game flow, who's playing well, who's playing poorly. So there isn't like a set, this is his guy who he starts in this situation. It's always something that's subject to change. Boy, what's my best guess going to be here?
I think it's Will Richard, like by leaps and bounds. I'm pretty sure it's that Richard fellow.
We've seen him make other starts this year.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to be a smaller Warriors lineup. I do think that it doesn't matter because it's not the Warriors lineup, but if the Warriors still had the Ware and Bam front court, I think it could have been Al Horford that would have been starting here.
Agreed.
And I still think that he's one of the live choices. Let's see. When's the last time that Will Richard made a start? Let's pull up his game log.
Going through.
Okay, so he did start last game in the absence of Jimmy Butler. All right. So we got the start from him last game. Did play 30 and a half minutes in that game.
Yep. And it was a massive blowout.
Made more than half his shots from the field.
It's useful.
I'll agree with you. I think Richard's the most likely starter.
Yeah, I think so too. And he was somebody that I was going to build a lot with him into lineups, and now I think he's just somebody that's going to look really, really good. I mean, I thought he was one of the best plays on the slate at 3,500 to late swap and get set for. He was planning to be Nuke of the night, but like now I think everybody's just going to play him. He goes from being like, because think about it this way. I think the main dudes who were still in that rotation and still playing prominently no matter what, we had like Moody, we would have had Brandon Pajemski, these guys are going to go up 1 or 2 minutes. This is like a 15, 14 minute situation up to like into the 20s, like 22, 23. He's super cheap. He's the cheapest of everybody by an absolute country mile. So when we get our update, I do think we're going to see that kind of get filtered in. Also, somebody kind of jokingly put it out into the world, but I've been thinking about Buddy Hield and how many minutes he could play. Did you see the clip of him just basically being like, fuck Jimmy Butler? Because you guys can be kindred spirits now.
I'm not a massive Buddy Hield fan, but we do have a shared connection on a potential dislike of Jimmy Butler. I'm trying to remember, what was the context? Was it like a fan was wearing a Jimmy Butler jersey and asked him to sign it or something?
Correct. And then he's just like, nah, fuck Jimmy Butler. And I don't know if it was joking around, but if you remember during the postseason last year, Jimmy Butler was like directing Buddy Hield around nonstop, pointing him where to go, pointing him what to do, filling in for Steph Curry, And then there were a couple of times where he said, don't dribble. He would like come up to him and shake his jersey and be like, if you dribble the ball again, we're going to have problems. And I was like, man, that can't be fun to play with. But also, Jimmy Butler was right about that.
How many players are going to be in the Warriors rotation tonight?
Oh, God. Well, we know Curry, Moody, Richard, Butler, Post. That's my assumption for starting five. Let's see. We got Pajemski, first guy off the bench. Al Horford, next guy off the bench, or simultaneous time. Buddy Hield, I think, plays. Gary Payton definitely plays, so that's 9. Trace Jackson Davis. And Steve Kerr loves Pat Spencer, so Pat Spencer probably plays 10, 12 minutes.
11.
Santos is out. Jonathan Kuminga's been sent to the Shadow Realm. Yeah, I'll say 10.5 guys, because there's something named Malevi Leons that I've never heard of in my life. That's cool.
So let's see what we have in our project. I'm expecting an 11-man rotation today for the Golden State Warriors. Let's see what we got in our data here. We just got a projections update. We have the projected starter as Will Richard. We went with a starting lineup here. Curry, Butler, Moody, Post, Will Richard. Same thing that you and I are expecting as of right now. And by the way, Will Richard, we put in for 21.5 minutes. That gives him a fantasy point projection of 17.3. So not massively high, but I do think there's a ceiling to him just because the minutes are so variable. Like we just saw him play over 30 minutes in a start. Now, different situation. It was Jimmy Butler who was out, but still, I think there's a little bit of a minute ceiling for Will Richard that makes him playable in tournaments, even if his projection isn't necessarily great. Here's what we've got for value. Let's see. Who are the top value options here on Golden State? Pajemski, nothing crazy. Pajemski now 27 fantasy points at 5K. He's in line to potentially play more minutes in the absence of Draymond Green. Don't forget, Draymond Green does initiate a lot of the offense, even if he's not an actual usage guy himself. So they do need to get other facilitators like a Pajemski potentially on the court. So we got Pajemski right under 27 fantasy points at 5K. We've got Moses Moody in for 21.5 fantasy points at 4K. Gary Payton off the bench, 18 fantasy points at $3,400. Outside of a potential start here for Will Richard, is there anything else on the cheap end that makes sense to you from the Warriors?
Yeah, I mean, the unlikely starter, like the guy that I think would be from the Shadow Realm is Pat Spencer. I think Gary Payton's probably more likely to start over at 3,400, just a part of that rotation, but maybe they decide to go out there and get more of a facilitator type, somebody who's a little bit more offensively forward. He's gotten random spot starts. He's played 31, 28, 29 minutes in some of these spots over the course of this season. If they wanted to get away from Richard for whatever reason, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be Richard, and then I don't know, Pat Spencer's kind of a random guy at 3K. I'm not saying that it's going to work out ever, just about. But there have been some massive minutes out of the middle of nowhere at times for Pat Spencer. And that's kind of the Steve Kerr thing, is when you think it's going to be one guy, it could be the other. It can be a starter who barely plays. That's Quentin Post every single time out. And then it can be a guy like Buddy Hield who re-enters and starts to go ballistic there. But at least Kuminga's out. At least we've got some of these other, like the Gui Santoses of the world out and some of these other pieces. But it is still very uncomfortable. And I can't imagine that I want to go crazy with anything here. But I might build in like 150. I might build in 1 or 2 shares of like Gary Payton, 1 or 2 shares of Pat Spencer, just on the off chance that we get something nuclear. It is only a 4-game slate after all. And the ability to get different is not really there in like some massive capacity. I mean, we're waiting on the Embiid news. That could shake up a lot of things, but this comes out 2 hours after the lock of that Boston-Detroit game. I know it seems insane, but like there are so many times Steve Kerr randomness can win you a tournament. So I'll embrace a little bit of that.
So here's what we've got for updated ownership projections that just came through. This is on the DraftKings side, and I'll pull up FanDuel in a second as well. So for the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry now 46% owned, Jimmy Butler just under 40% owned. We got Moses Moody, 32.7% owned. Then you got Pajemski and Horford, each just over 20% owned, presumably coming off the bench. You've got Gary Payton, 17% owned. And then Buddy Hield, Quentin Post, Will Richard, they're all just under 10% owned. Nobody else pulling any ownership for the Warriors. But let's see. This might be a record. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players from the Warriors projected for at least 7% ownership.
Yeah, that's... We are so screwed. This is going to just be absolutely ridiculous. I will say the Buddy Hield one is interesting purely because of positionality. And then, obviously you're just looking for somebody to come out and get Inferno hot. It's really hard for me to sit here and tell you who that's going to be. If it's Richard, sweet. If it's Hield and sometimes sweet. I think Moody plays a lot no matter what. I think Butler and Curry obviously are just kind of lock and load, whatever you want. And Al Horford, we really haven't seen any minutes for him all season long. I think his high point of any point is 29, and that was like October 23rd as I'm working through it. Otherwise, they've been so cautious with his minutes because like Al Horford is there to potentially play 24, 26 minutes a game come playoff time. Like that's what he's there to do. Right now, he doesn't give a shit about the regular season. Just get him there healthy in any way, shape, or form. Put him in bubble wrap and call it a day.
Here's the ownership on the FanDuel side of things. Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry both over 50% owned, 26% ownership to Moody, 25% ownership to Pajemski. Peyton is 10% owned. And then you've got 8% owned Al Horford, Post, Hield, Richard, none of them pulling any kind of ownership over on FanDuel. And this is where I find Richard to be an interesting tournament option. It's not because I have an crazy amount of confidence in his playing time or anything like that, but he's 1% projected owned on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's projected for 7% ownership. And, seeing it in chat too, where it's people talking about Steve Kerr's rotations and the unpredictability of them. And absolutely. But if we're going to get Will Richard potentially starting with Draymond Green out, yeah, I like him at 1% ownership on FanDuel and 7% ownership on DraftKings. It's a very contrarian option.
Dude, I just pulled up the Knicks score. 69-43 to Dallas right now. They're down 26. I got closing line value on Knicks minus 9.5 when you got Brunson and Hart in. What is going on with that basketball team? Are they going to fire Brown in his first year and go back to like Tibbs? They should go back and get Tibbs.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people in the New York area who were not thrilled, including my dad and his group of friends when Tom Thibodeau got fired. But boy, if you like Knicks minus 9 pregame, I wonder what the odds are on some of their alt lines now.
Plus 10.5 on Calci right now. I just pulled it up. Plus 9.5 now. There you go.
Yeah, they are getting annihilated by Dallas, it looks like. At home too, the Knicks.
And not only that, this starting lineup of the Dallas Mavericks, Powell, Martin, Marshall, Flagg, and Christie. There's 1.5 NBA players in that, like 2, like Najee and Cooper Flagg, Caleb Martin, Dwight Powell, and Max Christie. The Knicks are losing to that starting 5. Are you absolutely kidding me?
Not great.
Not great at all. Not great. That's $55 sent to the shadow realm for no reason. It's very hurtful. All right.
Got a super chat here from our guy, DC174. He says, shout out to News God for helping me out with the free Sims today. Tom, give that man a raise. Tom, if you're watching, we've got one person in chat here who has left his own money to advocate for News God getting a raise here. By the way, if anybody else wants to get into a Hall of Fame program like DC, all you have to do is play DFS with a stochastic avatar. And then if you happen to use our tools, content, whatever it may be to come in the top 3 of a GPP, tweet at us. Tag us at StochasticHOF over on Twitter. We'll engage with you. We'll get you into our Hall of Fame. And then you reach out to Sport, and News God is going to hook you up then with a free Sims sub. So there's no reason to not play DFS with a stochastic avatar. Get yourself a chance to win some free stuff like our guy DC here. All right, Eric. I got to know from you now. We got the unexpected Draymond Green news, but it's nice that we have that sorted for the people who don't want to just be. Well, I guess I was going to say if you don't want to be sitting by your computer waiting a late swap, although we're still probably going to be waiting for that starting lineup for a bit. checks phone for note. Last time I did this almost immediately, we got the Draymond Green news. So I thought maybe that would trigger the starting lineup to come out.
Your cosmic powers are gone. Sorry. Yeah. Good Lord. That was insane.
So the other piece of news, though, that we're presumably going to be getting, sometime in the near future is Joel Embiid. He's still listed as questionable as the most important player with a questionable tag on the slate. Do you have a lean on if he is going to be in or out for today?
I have a lean that he'll be out because I've got X pulled up and I have not seen him on the court yet.
Okay.
So that has me leaning towards out. Again, it's not anything crazy. And also, I say this a lot, but it's the first game of the slate. We shouldn't have any issues accumulating that information and reacting to it. If it were the 7:30 p.m. Eastern time slate, we might have some issues, but it's the first game. I'm just waiting for the news. However it breaks, it's going to break.
Yeah, I just pulled this up to look around and see what any kind of information I see on Joel Embiid on social media. Let's see. Yeah, not seeing anything specific right here. The one thing that kind of is interesting, though, they already ruled out Paul George. Oftentimes, if two guys are getting ruled out for something similar, they just get ruled out at the same time. It was kind of something that was notable with the John Collins, Ivica Zubats slate the other day. What ends up happening? They say Zubats is available to play, and you go, they say John Collins is available to play, and you go, how come no information on Zubats? So what ends up happening is Zubats gets ruled in, but we come to find out afterwards that John Collins actually wasn't playing in that game. The starting lineup comes out, he's not in it. That was the first red flag. We've seen this with Nurkic a couple of times also over the course of the last couple of weeks. So he was available to play in the case of emergency, but oftentimes if players have the same status, you're going to get an update on them at the same time. And then if there's going to be something different with the guys, they might be a little bit staggered. So obviously, if he's not on the court warming up right now, that'll be a pretty good tell that he's not going to play. But generally in these situations with Embiid not having an update and Paul George being ruled out, my best guess normally would be that Paul George out, which we already know that obviously, and then Joel Embiid plays.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's kind of a weird one. Again, I'm looking at all the beat writers, doing all the due diligence I can to try to find any kind of clues I can for, maybe a betting angle, but there's nothing really to do because they've been pretty cautious after some of the Andre Drummond numbers that we got earlier in the season. They don't post a lot of that goodness before any of these games until we have an idea of what happens with them here. But I'm pulling up Drummond, still not available. Adam Bona, still not available. I mean, we're just going to be sitting on that news the whole way. There's nothing to do about it.
Yeah, so we will be on the lookout for a Joel Embiid update because there's not really too much point in me running everything through the Sims and update my lineups again until we end up getting that update there. But let's see what we've got for additional super chats. One here is from our guy Clint, who took down a tournament the other day, and as always, likes to shout out you and DK on Twitter for how he has helped, how you guys have helped him build up his bankroll. So you see here from Clintwood, shout out to the best in the biz, even with the 55% Murray. I binked the mini max last night. Thanks, fellas. Oh, and Eric's Tails. Yeah, you guys could follow Eric over on Tails and check out his package. One of my favorite things to do is check out Eric's package, but also over on Tails, you just check out the bets that I post there for free. Lofty posts a bunch of free stuff. Josh posts a bunch of free stuff. So go download Tails. And if you're enjoying the experience, leave us a nice 5-star rating and review. It helps keep our content free. We very much do appreciate it. But shout out to Clintwood, who did win the tournament last night. He did tweet at us. And I love to see when you guys send us those winning screenshots. Jeremiah Johnson, maxing the FanDuel $5. How many uniques and how many and any boosts? All right. So as far as the boosts go, my first one player I know, I'm not exactly sure all of the boosts I'm going to do, except there's one guy I'm very sure I'm going to be boosting. That's Will Richard.
2 uniques on a 4-game slate is dicey. Like I would be letting it run. I would not be touching it. You get to 2 or 3 uniques in this situation, you're going to get all dust. You're going to get a lot of dust. And I would keep it a little bit more concentrated. I mean, I'm talking about like 1 or 2 in 150 going to some of these really deep shots on the Golden State guys, because we just don't know how we know Steve Kerr likes chaos. I love chaos, but a little bit more of, it's just one of those things where no matter what, you're going to be getting a crazy number of ridiculous lineups if you go too crazy with it on a 4-game slate.
By the way, somebody in the chat asked about multi-entering. I have a ton of tutorial videos up on the YouTube channel, and there actually is one on using the stochastic sims. So let me find that for you, and I will send it over, and I'll put that into the YouTube chat for you. Let's see what kind of questions we have in Discord for today's slate. If you guys are a Stochastic sub, you get access to our Discord channel, and you can ask us questions whenever you want. If you want to sign up for any of our packages, link down below in the YouTube description box. Lucky just asked something that he wanted to know if we're boosting anybody from the Warriors, which, going to be Will Richard. And then, look at this. Then JW wants to know how many unique should he play for today? Look, what are the odds of that? Just 2 questions back to back that we had also just answered from the other.
Looky there. A little bit more. I mean, just copy, rinse, repeat what we just said. And then, we'll continue on our merry way.
And then we've got here from Einsteinium, any interest in Davion Mitchell? Could he mirror Curry's minutes? Davion Mitchell, is he somebody that you have interest in as a tournament option, Eric?
Yeah, he's pulling like nearly 20% ownership. He's definitely not out of the realm. I think just about anything in that game environment is pretty viable. I mean, you just listed off 9 guys that were pulling pretty, nominal, like 7% plus ownership. It's only a 4-game slate, and we get the combination of cheapies, combination of guys who could just walk into larger roles. We also got news that Tyler Hero has some stuff going on with like his ribs, and they're not sure exactly how they're going to handle it. And Davion Mitchell had a pretty large workload before Tyler Hero got out there. And now you've also seen Khalil Ware end up off the floor a little bit more, who can eat up usage, eat up a lot of stats in general. He is very good from a point per minute basis, but he's gotten to a place where we can't go crazy with it. Jovic has had concussions, had a bunch of other stuff going on. I guess it's like a head illness, they're calling it right now over on the injury report, but like he's been fewer down there. The Miami rotation has gotten pretty consolidated. So if you're starting for Miami today, you're probably in play in tournaments for me no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, especially when it's a 4-game slate. Like here's what we've got for Davion Mitchell in our boom bust data. Like he's a guy on the slate. He's showing up in, 18% is his ownership, about an 18% optimal score. He's not somebody having like half your lineups, but if he's in, 15 to 25% of your lineups, that's totally sensible considering just the game that is by far the highest total on the entire slate. That game is at just under 240 points for a total. Here's what that is for comparison to the other games. Indy, Philly. 226.5. Yeah. Brooklyn, Phoenix, 214.5. Boston, Detroit, 223.5. The game's got a total almost 15 points higher than the second highest total on the slate.
Yeah, it's nuts. And also, I will say this about Miami, because I'm talking about, Golden State being difficult, and then I'm talking about Miami, why it is that I'm focused on the starters. They have played a lot of different dudes in that rotation. Like we saw 18, 19 minutes for Fontecchio again, kind of starting to get back into that rotation against Oklahoma City last time out, and they beat Oklahoma City. So there is that. Jakusionis has been in and out. They've had Drew Smith. They've had a lot of these ancillary guys who have mixed in. But what I'm really saying is that those guys are all playing like teens minutes. Everybody who's been starting has been playing like 30 to 32, 33 minutes. And that's just a really good situation when they get the opportunity to be out on the floor for 30 plus minutes. Like Davion Mitchell has a skill set. He creates. He has an ability to accumulate fantasy points. But you got to spike some kind of scoring. It's really, really hard to score nothing and crush unless you're, even like no matter what, you're going to need to have somebody have some kind of an outlier shooting day. But we already know he's going to be getting some built-in stats in the assist realm. He can get some steals. He can do a couple of other things pretty well. And he's sub 5K and starting. So he's in a pretty good spot here, absent Tyler Hero.
Yeah, $4,700 Davion Mitchell. I mean, just simply to answer your question on signing, yes, absolutely somebody to be interested in for today. We got a super chat here. This one is coming from Ankle Breaker. Ankle Breaker wants to know our favorite players at each position for DraftKings.
Sure.
So, pending the update on Joel Embiid, let's go position by position here and see what it is that's most appealing to us on the DraftKings side of things. And starting at the point guard position, I'm going to go with Brandon Pajemski now, Eric.
I'm going to go Tyrese Maxey.
Okay. Yeah, Maxey. If we do have no Joel Embiid, then Maxey's going to be somebody who raises.
Even if we get Embiid, I'm going to play Maxey for what it's worth. I really like Maxey on this slate.
Shooting guard. I'm going to go with let's see, which direction I'm going to go with the cheap option in Gary Payton, who potentially we could be seeing some extended minutes from, and he's projecting pretty well for us.
Got something in my eye out in the middle of nowhere there. Moses Moody, I'll go to the chalkier option.
Okay. At small forward, that's going to be Kelly Oubre for me. He should be stepping into, it's like a perfect storm for Oubre. His minutes are starting to uptick a little bit in terms of him getting healthier. And then you've also got no Paul George, potentially no Joel Embiid. So Kelly Oubre for me, 4,900.
Norman Powell.
Okay. Power forward. I'm going back to my guy, Jay Huff here.
I'm going to your guy, Jimmy Butler here.
the enemy. And then finally at center, I'll go Bam here.
Yeah, Bam.
All right, Ankle Breaker, thank you very much for the super chat. The next one here is from Mamson, Sanson, Calzone. Core plays on a DK GPP, and who are you guys boosting? And then Eric, love your Bussy?
I think it's Boosie, but you got to turn the B around. Turn the B around.
All right. All right,
he's calling me a pussy is what he's doing, Greg.
No, because he's not calling you anything. He just says love your. He just says he loves that part of you. He's not he's not saying love you. Like it's the words matter here. All right. See, I'm very much
so does understanding slang and
that's the
intention
well outside my purview. I don't know anything cool slang. Nope, I don't know anything about it. It used to be because my sister is out of college. I used to get these updates from her, but now she's an old like I am, and now she doesn't keep me up to date on the pop culture. Now, also her remember there was the push and P thing. We're like, what the hell is going on with this? And she explained it to me, and then I don't get those updates anymore.
6, 7.
Yeah, don't get
any of that from my nieces and nephews at Christmas, and I still haven't forgiven them. So for that.
All right. So Mamson, who loves your pussy, Eric. Core plays for a DraftKings GPP. Who are we boosting? I'm still going to go with.
I just had one of my friends from college say that it means boy pussy. That's what a bussy is.
Okay, so there you go. You're telling me I don't understand lingo while you're just explaining it completely wrong.
It is my asshole. He likes my asshole. It's great. Just at my place of employment. Don't mind me.
Well, I mean, these are the customers. The customers always like.
I'm not sure in this case. Well, whatever.
Let's see. All right. So core plays. So for boosting, it's still going to be Will Richard for me. Keep in mind, 7% owned over on DraftKings, 1% owned on FanDuel. If I just have a little bit more than that, I feel pretty good about somebody who could potentially be starting at a cheap price point for Golden State. As far as the core plays for today, if Joel Embiid is out, Maxey is absolutely a core play in that kind of scenario. As of right now, you've also got Steph Curry in that mix, Kelly Oubre, Bam Adebayo. Who else would you call a core play for yourself?
So I'm kind of torn because I've got a nuke of the night that I think could be really fun at the center position. I've also got a nuke of the night that could be way off kilter for a GPP. I'm just really trying to talk myself into it, really allowing myself to pull the trigger on it. But I think the chalk is pretty good. I think just having some versatility late and having a couple more Miami guys in addition to the Golden State guys that are going to show up. And I do mean getting to some cheaper pieces as well, just to have the lineup spots and some swappability makes a ton of sense here on this slate. Boston, it's a really tough spot when you have a 10-1 Jaylen Brown and 8-6 Derek White and all these guys. So while they're low owned, I think they probably should be. I'm going to still try to mix them into specific lineups. And then I don't know, we've got a really low total. We just have a weird slate because it's like a 239 total. And then we have 3 totals that are all 227 or lower. And my favorite for GPPs is actually the Phoenix Brooklyn game, as far as like finding 1 or 2 pieces from, especially on the Brooklyn side. I don't think it can be understated the fact that like Day'Ron Sharp's out, Cam Thomas is out. Like we've got guys who do things from a fantasy perspective out. We're inserting Michael Porter Jr., who wasn't there yesterday, but I do think that there's still a lot to go around. He's been a little bit more of a creator at times this season. And, just by default being out on the floor against Phoenix here, I think this is going to be an all right spot. Phoenix on a back-to-back probably dips into that bench a little bit more. So feeling pretty good about the Brooklyn side being like the DK GPP target for me, where I've got 2 guys in my lineup right now for single entry, then they might stick.
Joel Embiid listed available to play for today. So can I interest you, Eric, in a $9,400, 27% on Joel Embiid against the Pacers tonight?
You sure can. It's the Pacers. It's Jay Huff who doesn't rebound. And he blocks shots for what it's worth. Congratulations to Jay Huff. Remember that Kalshi bet I was talking about where it's like between him and Wemby, who's going to lead the league in blocks? And Jay Huff's still up. So there is that. But I definitely think he's viable. I'm not going to have as much maxi as I was planning on here. That is probably the case as well. But they both look awesome. This Indy team just continues to be poverty. I mean, they are just a poverty organization. And center has Bam Adebayo. It has my nuke of the night. There's not a lot else that I like there. We've seen Duren's minutes kind of capped. We've seen, a lot of power forward center guys that are interesting, like a Danny Wolf, but less so with Michael Porter Jr. back and assumed to not be starting here. I think he's by far your most consistent, which is an insane thing to say about Joel Embiid, consistent option at the center position.
We do also have some other news here. Ron Holland, he's available to play as well. He was questionable. Okay. So that takes care of all of I cannot believe we got all the injury news on the show, but we did. We got it all here. And then also we've got the starting lineup for the 76ers: Maxey, Edgecombe, Oubre, Barlow, and Embiid. So we do have Kelly Oubre starting in place of Paul George, who is out with rest. So with that being the case here, Kelly Oubre, who already talked about as a core option, I think he's the best value play on the slate, Eric.
Say that again?
In short, I think Kelly Oubre is the best value play on the slate.
I agree with that. Sorry, I misheard what you said, and I agree with you. I thought you were saying that he wasn't I heard the opposite. So I'm with you. 4,900, going to play 28 plus minutes. Life is good to be Kelly Oubre.
Yeah. You thought I was talking about his Bussy or something over there. Most likely.
We got to get off the Bussy conversation. But again, I will say he said he liked it. So I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, look, Mike Dobbins and the Tsunami. Probably, I don't know what this means either. I don't know.
Hey, puppy. Hey. Like that?
I don't know.
Prison yard?
Know. This is what's tough about getting older, Eric? People say things like in super chats or whatever to us, and I have no clue what I'm like. I don't know. Am I saying something positive? Am I saying some like horrific slur or something? I don't know. There's no way to know anymore. So that's
at least you show up for your shows, so that's good. That's an important characteristic to have in an employee. That's what I heard.
There was some message about it earlier, but I pick and choose my spots, and I decided not to show any of those earlier. But all good things happen. It was discussed earlier, but Eric, should we run the nuke of the night now?
Hit the goddamn button.
Let's do it. All right, guys. We are a little bit more than halfway through the show. We've got all the injury news. We've got some starting lineups. It is time for the nuke of the night. All right, here we go. Eric, according to some, you have the best bussy in the business. And now you also have what is undoubtedly the best nukes in the business. As everybody knows, Eric's nukes have just been absolute hot fire this season, from Isaiah Stewart to Craig Porter Jr. to whoever it is that he's about to give us out for today. Eric, who's your nuke of the night?
So yesterday was a weird one, purely because we got Brooklyn. We got them playing basketball. They got bludgeoned by Chicago. There was a lot of weird stuff in that game, but I do think the most noticeable thing for me on the injury report today, not just getting Michael Porter Jr. in, but Day'Ron Sharpe out, Cam Thomas out. Cam Thomas has a lot of usage. You've got yourself Day'Ron Sharpe, who plays the same position as my nuke. I think Nick Claxton is massively underrepresented across the industry in just about every regard today. I legitimately think Nick Claxton has triple-double upside today. I do think with Igor Demon out, with Cam Thomas out, who's been creating tons, I ended up on his over 2.5 assists. I think he had 10 or 11 assists yesterday too. It was absurd in that second unit how they've kind of changed. And this is a different coaching staff than what you had before for Cam Thomas. And it's kind of leaked into some of these other pieces. But one thing's always been the same for Nick Claxton. Much better creator than people think, and never as good of a rebounder as a traditional big. But when you don't have Day'Ron Sharpe in there, when you had Nick Claxton just play 23 minutes yesterday, I think 33, 34 minutes are on the table today, pending what they need here. You know, they're still actively playing games to win. And Mark Williams out there, Osei Godoro out there, basically just splitting the center minutes. I think Nick Claxton is in for a massive workload in the event that he stays out of foul trouble. Danny Wolf probably going to be playing backup to him here, or Jalen Wilson to some extent. I mean, this is such a good spot to be overweight to a guy who is massively underrepresented. Nick Claxton, nuke of the night.
So I kind of tipped my hand a little bit when he was ruled in a few minutes ago, and I kind of like enthusiastically said, Eric, could I interest you in a $9,400 Joel Embiid, who's, you know, pulling ownership in the mid 20% range, but considering he was questionable all day, got rolled in a little bit late, like I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up coming in a little bit lower owned than just as a result of that. But have you taken note of Joel Embiid's playing time lately?
It's insane. It's beautiful.
There's no way this is gonna work long term. Like they are asking for an injury, playing him this many minutes.
Yep.
But at least for now, Joel Embiid is healthy. He has had a usage rate north of 30% in every single game since January 3rd, and the minutes that he's playing in competitive games, massive. So last game against the Cavs, 33 minutes, which was on the low end for him. The game against that was the game before that, I should say, was a blowout. So only plays 25 minutes in that game. But all right, I'll just go over the competitive games as of late. So here are his last handful of competitive games: 33 minutes, 36 minutes, 31.5 minutes, 40 minutes, 33 minutes, 35.5 minutes, 38 minutes. Joel Embiid is playing a massive workload, big minutes, big usage. And I don't know that people have really taken note, just based on what his ownership and what his price points have been, that you're kind of starting to see the workload of Joel Embiid from a couple of years ago again. So I'm going to Joel Embiid here. I know his price points come up a little bit, but I still think it's kind of a buy low spot for him.
I'm so there with you too. And you look at center today. I mean, we're both highlighting centers purely because what's the opportunity cost? Like Bam Adebayo, 7,700, splitting center minutes now with Khalil Ware, not sharing the floor with him. It's a better situation for him for sure, but it's not easy by any means when you're going to be playing against Al Horford and, you know, Bam Adebayo. He should overall have a pretty decent spot to be able to go out and smash, but like that's one play. Everything else at center is kind of a dog shit position. I mean, nobody else pops for me whatsoever. So low opportunity cost means high tournament upside. Love Embiid, love Claxton, love what we're doing there. I'm going to have a lot of both of them, and I'm going to have a lot of Bam Adebayo. Not that hard to rotate around those three.
Yeah, look at the center position here. Just went and sorted by points per dollar value. Your number one play overall, just like based on projection relative to salary, with center eligibility, it's Al Horford with a fantasy point projection of 21.5 at $4,200. Like this is as sparse as value has been on a center position the entire season. So I agree with you wholeheartedly about the opportunity cost comment there, Eric.
Great. Yeah. It just, these are the kind of slates that I generally do really, really well, because I'm okay getting to like one or two way off the board pieces, like a Golden State guy or two, or just embracing the fact that I have 40% Nicholas Claxton. That's a ton of leverage. I can be at the field on some of these other guys, but I'm making one very calculated stand based on what I see on the board. It doesn't make sense to me with Daron Sharp out that we wouldn't look at 23 minutes yesterday on a back-to-back. Played the fewest of like any starter for the most part. Like, that's a really good situation. So I'm happy to make calculated stands here or there. And when you're right about it, like, I don't feel like Al Horford's going to put up 40 today. If he does, rip me, I suppose. But like, Al Horford's just one of those guys who doesn't have a minutes upside. You need minutes to really put up fantasy points, or you need irrational shooting, Greg. So no matter what, I'm happy that Brooklyn got waxed by 22 there yesterday. And Igor Demon was the guy who played the fewest minutes of the starters. But like, for all intents and purposes, Nick Claxton, 23 minutes next to Clowney, who played 30. Man who played 28, Wolf who played 25. Like, I just feel really good about these kind of small calculated stands.
Let's see if there was any other questions that
Knicks
came
are down
in.
30 to the Mavericks. Why? What is going on? Of course I bet Knicks minus 9.5. What is actually going on?
Don't give up hope yet. They can still come back.
Yeah, no, they can't. They can't cover 40. Oh, it's a little different, Greg.
You know, there is reality of bets. It's either win-loss. It's not like they take extra money out of your account when you lose by more points. It is a little more embarrassing, but it doesn't actually make a difference in the long run. You know?
Yeah, tell the people in the comment section of my video tomorrow whether or not that's the case. I can guarantee you what's going to happen. You suck, you jackass. And it's like, I just came off of a good day on Sunday where there wasn't a video. So go me, back to being shit. Here we are. Go team.
Back to your natural habitat and position. Let's see what we've got here. Nothing.
Trash man.
Yeah. All right. No super chats. We do have a question here. Actually, a couple of questions. One's from Einsteinium. Wants to know how we're handling Mark Williams tonight, Eric. Mark Williams, he's somebody making his way into your lineups. We just talked about the scarcity of good plays at the center position.
He's okay. I have no problem if you want to go crazy with it. I will say this. You get Devin Booker in there, you're going to get Jordan Goodwin in there for some minutes who can do some stuff from a fantasy perspective. Grayson Allen has been eating up more usage again now. And it's still Mark Williams sub 6K. I could get to a little bit, but I very strongly prefer Nicholas Claxton just for the overall box score.
Yeah, so my last run of updated lineups, he's low owned. I think that he's a perfectly fine contrarian option. I do agree with Eric. I have more of Claxton, but Mark Williams, my last run, showed up in 16% of lineups, 12% ownership. So we know he has upside there. I think that if we look, there's a lot of centers today who I look at as modestly priced, good points per minute fantasy producers that want to be a little bit overweight to the field too, or in the case like Joel Embiid, decently overweight to the field too. But a lot of these guys kind of get bucketed together in the mid-range for me. Mark Williams, Nick Claxton, Jalen Duren, Bam Adebayo. All these guys I think are a little bit too cheap for what their ceiling is.
Agreed. That's the perfect way to put it. No notes.
All right. We have a question from Young Metro Boomin. Wants to know best players at each position on FanDuel. I have my DraftKings lineups updated. I'm in the middle of updating my FanDuel lineup. So let's circle back on this in, let's say, like 2 minutes. We just got a projections update as well.
Oh, good. Okay.
So I want to make sure that is incorporated into my next update. But I'll give you guys the updated ownership projections. Here's what we've got for ownership now overall on this slate. We'll start with DraftKings and we'll look at FanDuel and then Young Metro Boomin. After my lineups are done being updated and Eric and I look at the ownership here, then we'll get back to your question. But here's what we got for DraftKings. Steph Curry, for 4-game slate, only 2 players north of 40% owned, nobody crazy popular, and only a handful of guys over 30% owned. So Curry and Butler both just over 40% owned. Then in the mid 30% range, you've got Moody, Maxey, and Norm Powell. Nobody else over 30% owned. Is there anybody pulling a lot of ownership that you are seeing as a problematic amount of ownership?
Al Horford. Al Horford, I have 0 of. I'm playing 150 lineups with 0 Al Horford. I will not play Al Horford today. I refuse. I refuse to play a guy who can't play 25 minutes today. I really do. Really, really do.
He's 24% owned. I think I'm updating everything right now, like I said, but I think I had him about even with the field the last time that I ran stuff. Do you think that it's just physically impossible for him to play 25 without disintegrating?
Honestly, maybe. Like, I mean, there's a chance that he ends up in a pile on the floor. The guy won a national title, 2 national titles with Joakim Noah. It's been a while. It's been a while since he's been in the NBA. Correct me if I'm wrong with that, but Al Horford's been around the block, and
Corey Brewer.
Corey Brewer, my God. Think of how it's impressive that Al Horford's had this kind of career, but like there is a range of outcomes. Like if I'm going to play a guy in the mid range, I want them to be able to walk into 26 minutes. I don't think Al Horford would ever, even if he was just playing inferno hot basketball, get up to 25, 26 minutes here. I just don't believe he can. So I removed him. Maybe he can be a guy that can win in the lineup in spite of everything else that you have in it, but I'd just rather play anything than Al Horford.
I'm okay with Horford. To me, the one that I am most likely a little bit underweight to the field to is Moses Moody. And it's not because he projects very well. I think you absolutely should be playing Moses Moody in cash. But that line, the lineups, the rotations, they are so variable by the Warriors that Moses Moody being just under 40% owned. By the way, we do have a massively negatively leveraged too, while only being optimal 27.6% of the time in our boom bust data. So it's not to say that there isn't a case for him. I just think the ownership is too high when we've seen what happens with the Warriors rotations. Like he's very live to miss some shots, play like 22 minutes and just not have a great game and be the chalk option that kind of busts the slate. I think his downside is more significant than his upside, particularly when he's in nearly 40% of the field's lineups.
Yeah, I get it, but also he could be somebody who plays 30 minutes tonight. Like that's where I see this. It's such a fragile number because we have to arrive on a conclusion that gets put into the Sims, and that's going to be, the ownership projection, the player projection, and we have the standard deviation column. We have the boom bust column. We have things that can inform, how likely somebody is to succeed. His boom percentage is low amongst chalk. Totally understood. But look at Al Horford's. It's lower. And the number of times that I'm going to get beat by an Al Horford today, the thing is about Moses Moody, he can play 30 plus minutes. I do not think there are any planets where we play 26 plus minutes of Al Horford today. And knowing that information, I'm happy to make a calculated stand at that position specifically. I'm playing a lot of J Huff early. I don't think I need to be worried about the power forward position as much. So I'm rolling him out. And if J Huff, with what he's been doing, some of the boom bustness, like totally get it. If it ends up burning me, I get to make pivots later to kind of try to justify what I'm going to do around Al Horford. But no matter what, barring something crazy unforeseen, I will have none of him.
And to be clear also, I'm going to have some update my lineups right now. Yeah, so I have about 20% of Moody. So he's in lineups for me, just not as much as what the field is getting to
and that's
when it comes to him.
How much Gary Payton did you get to?
My last run, let's see. I'm kind of perusing everything right now. Oh, these are my FanDuel lineups. I presume you mean for DraftKings.
Yeah, please. And then, yes, Manungai, absolutely good stuff. Threw that out as a free play for the people, longest rush, and we got ourselves the 20 plus receptions yards. Good stuff. I'm going to miss that guy. Rip Bears. Rip.
30% of GP3 for me right now.
That's a great number. I was going to say I boosted him a little bit, so I wanted to at least throw his name out there.
That's the other thing too, is I think there's a lot of good pivots off of Moody as well. Peyton's one. Will Richard, that's another one who we talked about at the top. He's pulling. Let's see if that's gotten changed it all over the course of the show.
Nothing.
We've got
10%.
Will Richard, 10% owned on DraftKings now, on FanDuel. So that's a little bit higher than it was before, but it's still not all that significant. It's 2% over on FanDuel. You tell me that you play this slate out a bunch of times and Moses Moody ends up outscoring Will Richard at a 20-1 clip. I don't think so.
Who took the picture of Little Richard? Does anybody else remember that commercial? That was good stuff.
Not at all.
Talk.
Young Metro Boomin. So getting back to his question, best players at each position for FanDuel. Starting at point guard for me, that is going to be Steph Curry, Eric.
Steph Curry.
At shooting guard, that will be Kelly Oubre for me.
Tsunami Papi.
Small forward, that'll be VJ Edgecombe.
That is going to be Jaylen Brown on FanDuel.
Power forward, Bam Adebayo.
Jimmy Butler.
And then center, Joel Embiid.
And center, Bam Adebayo.
All right. Let me give a ROI boost to Will Richard before uploading all these lineups. And then I'm going to be good to go here. Let's see what else.
By the way, I had an error on my sheet. It is not Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler, and then Kelly Oubre. So small forward, shooting guard. I just was omitting them as we were going. So I have a pretty big stand on Jaylen Brown on FanDuel.
Okay. We've got 4-prong digger wants to know, do we have interest in Quentin Grimes tonight, Eric?
Little bit, nothing crazy. Mainly because we've just seen the minutes kind of come down once Kelly Oubre got back. And we have Jared McCain, who also exists. And this guy has been just annoying. We only have Paul George out, but I have to make minutes for Jared McCain, even if it's like 10, 12. I have to make minutes for some of these other pieces. Jabari Walker's been playing a little bit. Like Quentin Grimes doesn't have as clean of a route to get to minutes as he did before because Kelly Oubre, confirmed, still pretty good at basketball.
Yeah, and by the way, Jared McCain is in today. He's been playing in the G League, but good to go for today. He's back with the 76ers. Let's see what we've got here from Ethan7. He wants to know, were you playing much of Nembhard tonight, Eric?
That's DK DFS's guy. You got to let me know. I have 20% of him on DK, so I'm a little below the field. Nothing crazy, though. There's like 10 or 12 guys that are like that for me on this slate. I'm about the field on him. I ended up about the field on Maxey. I'm actually at 35, so I'm below on Maxey now at this point in time. Davion Mitchell, I'm around the field. Like I'm around the field on so many of these point guards that I'm just looking at in my lineups. Not really the position I'm taking any kind of a calculated stand. I'm about the field on Curry too. So like it is other positions that I will be making moves.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, especially on a 4-game slate, there's a lot of guys who just be like, sure, he exists. Like a lot of guys who are 10 to 20% owned, who you just have an adequate amount of lineup, like a comparable amount of lineups relative to the field. Nembhard's one of those guys. He's in lineups. I don't have an issue with him. I'm not over underweight to the field to him in a way that matters. He's just a guy that exists and is fairly priced.
Yeah, I think everybody wants us to have a take all the time about everything. And sometimes I just don't have a take. Like, I don't have a take about, like, I'm overweight. I do have takes on, like, Brandon Pajemski, Kelly Oubre. Like, I'm definitely got takes on them, but, like, I don't have to have a take on absolutely everybody. Sometimes a guy is just a serviceable play. You totally understand why they're in your lineups, and you move along with your life. But, yeah, ended up about at the field on a ton of these point guards. I don't really have a stand at point guard today. Outside of Nolan Traore, I have like 0 of. So that's cool. Congratulations to him on his 30 piece.
Yeah, so this is why some people go out and call you a Boosie, because you don't have takes on everything. Also, just circling back, mentioned this a second ago, but from Caveman here, I thought McCain was in the G League. He was, but they called him back up for this game, which was probably a tip in advance that Paul George wasn't going to be playing today. But yes, McCain back up, at least for today, with the 76ers big boy team. All right. Looks like we've got all of our questions answered here. So, Eric, we've got about 6 minutes to play with here. Is there anything that you are most notably keeping your eye on post-lock to keep the people aware of that they should be having their eyes peeled for after the slate locks?
Without question, the fifth starter for Golden State. Like Golden State, that is 2 hours after the last game locks. We have all the news. Brooklyn has a chance of being just complete fuckery, but like more than likely it's going to be okay in some capacity. Like if Traore were to, for some reason, start alongside Man and Drake Powell is off the bench or something like that, like there are iterations of Brooklyn that can end up weird, but I'm playing a lot of Kelly Oubre early. He's in over 75% of my lineups. I've got a ton of these guys that are going to be coming up later that I've kind of made calculated stands on. Gary Payton, I think, is a really good tournament play, which is why I brought him up specifically. Will Richard, somebody that 10%, I'm going to be north of that as well, but wanted to pre-build some of it in. But Brooklyn's really the only lineup in the early 3 games that could come out wonky. I don't think we get anything wonky other than that. And then Golden State, pay attention to that lineup because it could really, really change. It could be a number of different pieces. We assume it to be Richard, but Steve Kerr loves chaos. We've established that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think part of it is you just have to put in somebody to be the final starter. So we went with Richard, but I assume that if he was to be confirmed as the starter, our projection minutes would go up on him. So we have him at 21.5, but that's probably not us like fully 100% confident he's the starter. It's probably like allocating the minutes around to a handful of guys. Wouldn't be surprised if we end up projecting Will Richard for a few more minutes in the event that he ends up starting. Alex Morris wants to know, can Gary Payton II and Richard go in the same lineup? Yeah, on a 4-game slate and them being as cheap as they are, I don't have an issue with that.
Absolutely.
And we had, oh no, there was another question. I thought there was. All right. So one other thing that I want to go over with you, Eric, is the final FanDuel ownership projections. We looked at them on DraftKings. We have not on FanDuel yet. Maxey, 56% owned. Jimmy Butler, 54% owned. Oubre, 54% owned. Bam, 46%. Steph, relative has come down. He was like 55% when we were looking at the FanDuel ownership projections earlier. Now he's come down to 45%. Ask the same question of you on DraftKings. For the FanDuel side of things, is there anybody whose ownership looks to be problematically high for you?
Yeah, there's a couple of them for FanDuel. One of VJ Edgecombe is a little bit high for me. I know 6,700, but it's just like we have so much Miami Golden State coming up later. And so for swappability purposes, if I play a ton of VJ Edgecombe and a ton of Kelly Oubre, I better really, really, really have that work out for me because of what positions they eat up. So what I'm doing is I'm playing a ton of Kelly Oubre and I'm playing very little VJ Edgecombe. Kelly Oubre is 4,300 on FanDuel. It's a joke. So just playing a ton of him. And then where Edgecombe is at 6,700, I want to play Norman Powell, Andrew Wiggins. I guess you can play small forward, power forward a little bit as well. Jimmy Butler, small forward. Just think about what positions are getting eaten up there. And then some of the tournament plays that we're going to want to go to for Miami Golden State, they sit at kind of the same positions there. Moses Moody, Brandon Pajemski, Pell Larson, all guys at 18% plus. So for me, VJ Edgecombe, he's kind of a casualty of the FanDuel slate just because harder to attain him. On DK, he's expensive enough where I don't have to think about him, but FanDuel, I'm playing 10%. That is going to be a very calculated stand.
I'll put it in quotes only, but it's relative to ownership here. I only have 40% of Tyrese Maxey. I think he's the easiest guy to find pivots off of, nearly 60% owned on FanDuel. Wow. It's kind of why I earmarked that the ownership on Steph Curry has come down. Curry, like I've more of Curry than I have of Maxey now. I think that is a reasonable pivot to make. I think Joel Embiid, my nuke of the night, I think he's a great leverage play off of Tyrese Maxey because in the event that Joel Embiid has a ceiling game, those are going to be usage scoring opportunities that come from Tyrese Maxey. So there are some spots that, and Joel Embiid is what on FanDuel now? He is just over 30% owned. So you're getting Joel Embiid at almost half the ownership of Tyrese Maxey at a cheaper price point. So that's a pivot point or a leverage spot that I like, and then a pivot as well. Steph Curry to Tyrese Maxey. It's once again, it's not an anti-Tyrese Maxey stance in general. It's just he's nearly 60% owned, which is crazy, crazy high ownership.
It's a big number at 10-1. Kind of the positionality thing that we talked about though over on DK, where there's not a lot over on DraftKings. Like it's Maxey and Curry on FanDuel. Like they're the two guys.
And Cade's 22% owned. I think that he's a very viable pivot option off of Maxey.
I do like flipping the build a little bit. Davion Mitchell is a really good tournament play on FanDuel. Like really, really good. Just gives you a different build in general. I ended up boosting him a little bit. We had like right around 12%. I got 10% of my sim. I'm playing more on FanDuel today, even though I've been focusing more on DK because I know what people care about. But I love Davion Mitchell north of 20% of my lineups on FanDuel.
And let me see some of the other pay up options who I end up getting to. Yeah, primarily those guys. Joel Embiid as a leverage option, more of Steph Curry than Maxey. And also Cade, who's a third of the ownership of Tyrese Maxey and is only $500 more expensive. So that's another spot that stands out to me. We have got about 30 seconds left to go until we get to lock. If you guys have not done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can go check Eric and I out over on Tails. Tails app 100% free to download and lots of free bets over there as well. I've got a handful for NBA. I've got also, if you guys are going to be playing DFS for the college football national championship game, I've got a breakdown of that up on my Tails package as well. I just put some data up from the Sims, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. I've mentioned this before, but my brothers, one of them went to Miami, one of them went to Indiana. So nobody was expecting preseason for this to be the championship game. My brother also, who's like med school and is becoming a doctor, doesn't really pay that much attention to sports. It's only just come to his attention that Miami has a competent football team this year. So he was also surprised by it. But it'll be an interesting family group chat for today. And if you guys are looking for any DFS content for it, head on over to Tails as well. Eric, any final thoughts for the people?
No, and I know Steve Buzzard, DeColts, one of the best DFS players in the world, our CFO. He's at the game for today, in Indiana grad. Him and his wife, who I got to see at the Rose Bowl this year. So I was happy to see them. Good luck to Indy, especially because Miami, I really don't like them. So, hey, go Hoosiers. We're going to have ourselves a heck of a football game. Make sure you do check that out from Greg on Tails, though, because I wanted to build lineups for it. I have some reserved, and I had no idea what I was doing. So now I'm ready to rock. So go check that out.
All right, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Good luck with your lineups tonight, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.